In the heart of a lively African city, there lived a man named Chief Durojaye. He was a man of great wealth, power, and respect. His mansion was like a palace, standing tall with golden gates and gardens that stretched like a dream. Yet inside, Chief Durojaye lived alone. His wife had passed years ago, and though he had riches, his heart carried a deep emptiness. One bright morning, as the birds sang sweet songs, a new maid arrived at his house. Her name was Amaka, a young woman with humble eyes and a spirit that carried peace. She came with a simple bag, a shy smile, and a promise to work hard. Chief Durojaye noticed her immediately, but he said nothing, only nodding silently. Amaka worked with quiet grace. She moved like the morning breeze, dusting, cleaning, cooking, and arranging flowers in ways that made the mansion feel alive again. She sang softly to herself while she worked. Old songs her mother had taught her, songs full of hope and dreams. Chief Durojaye often found himself pausing to listen. Behind thick curtains, he would watch her. There was a gentleness about her that stirred something in him, something he thought he had buried long ago. But he kept his distance, letting silence be his cover. Days turned into weeks. Amaka remained the same, humble, diligent, and kind. She never asked questions. She never crossed boundaries. She treated the mansion with respect as if it were her own home. Chief Dorojaye grew used to her presence, almost comforted by it. Still, he watched her only from afar, his heart speaking in whispers he was too proud to hear. To everyone else, Amaka was just a maid, but to Chief Durojaye, she was becoming something more, something precious he dared not touch. Nor yet. One evening, after a heavy rain, the mansion's garden flooded. Flowers lay scattered, and the beautiful walkways were hidden under muddy water. Chief Durojaye stood by his window, heart sinking at the ruin. Yet before he could call for help, he saw Amaka step into the mess, barefoot and determined. She worked for hours, replanting flowers, clearing water, and restoring beauty to the garden. Chief Durojaye watched with amazement. No one had told her to do it. She just did. Something in him softened, like a stone touched by water. The next morning, the garden was blooming again, more beautiful than ever. Chief Durojaye stepped outside and walked among the flowers. Their colors danced under the sun, and he could almost feel Amaka's spirit in every leaf. He wanted to thank her. He wanted to say something, anything. But when Amaka bowed gently and whispered, "Good morning, sir," all he could do was nod. Pride, fear, loneliness, they all held his words prisoner. Yet deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Look closer. See her heart." That night, Chief Durojaye couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Amaka, her kindness, her strength, a simple joy in doing good. Memories of his younger days, when love was pure and simple, flooded his mind. He realized he had been living inside a shell of gold, but without the warmth of true connection. Slowly, something began to stir within him, a longing he could no longer ignore. He didn't know it yet, but the wall around his heart had started to crack. As days passed, Chief Durojaye found himself drawn more and more to Amaka. He started noticing the tiny things, the way she tucked stray hair behind her ear, the way she laughed softly at the birds fighting over crumbs. He found himself smiling without meaning to. He began to wait for the moments she passed by, just to catch a glimpse of her gentle soul. But with each passing day, the battle inside him grew fiercer. Was it right? Could he, a man of his status, allow his heart to chase a maid? One afternoon, while Chief Duroyaye sat under the shade of a great mango tree, He overheard the other staff whispering. They talked about Amaka, how lucky she was to be working for such a rich man, how maybe she could even win his favor if she played her cards right. Chief Durojaye's heart burned with anger, not at Amaka, but at the cruelty of the world. They didn't see her purity. They didn't know her heart. It was at that moment he realized he didn't just admire Amaka, he respected her, he valued her. But fear still held him back. He remembered the judgment of society, the whispers, the laughter. What would people say? Would they accuse her of manipulation? Would they say he was a fool bewitched by a servant girl? That night, Chief Durojaye stood by the window watching the moonlight dance on the garden Amaka had saved. His heart ached with longing. He knew he couldn't stay silent forever. But when would be the right time to speak? The next morning, Chief Durojaye decided to test his feelings, just to be sure they were real. He called Amaka and handed her a small task to arrange flowers in his private study, a place no one else was allowed to touch. Amaka's hands trembled slightly as she entered the room, but she worked with her usual grace. Chief Durojaye sat quietly, pretending to read a newspaper, but his eyes were on her. She placed each flower with care, her head bowed, her movements soft like a song. Watching her, Chief Durojaye felt something bloom in his chest, a certainty he could no longer deny. After she finished, Amaka turned to leave, but at the door, she paused and looked back. Their eyes met, just for a moment. There was no fear, no ambition, just simple respect. Chief Durojaye smiled, a small, almost shy smile. Amaka smiled back, then quickly lowered her head and walked away. The moment was brief, but it burned itself into Chief Durojaye's heart. He sat there long after she left, feeling like a young man again, unsure of what to do with a heart that refused to stay quiet. Later that day, he tried to distract himself with work, meetings, and endless phone calls, but nothing could erase the feeling. Every paper he signed, every word he spoke, it all seemed hollow compared to the life he felt when Amaka was near. For the first time in years, he was thinking not about profits or property, but about love, real love. A love that asked for nothing but the chance to exist. Chief Durojaye realized he could not test his heart any longer. It had already chosen. That evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky with gold and purple, Chief Durojaye made a decision. He would speak to Amaka, not as a master to his mate, but as a man to a woman. Yet, as he rehearsed the words in his mind, fear crept in. What if she misunderstood him? What if she thought he only wanted to use her? His hands shook slightly as he paced his study, feeling like a schoolboy about to confess his first love. Still, he knew he could not remain silent anymore. Meanwhile, Amaka sat by the servants' quarters, mending a tear in her only good dress. She hummed quietly to herself, unaware of the storm brewing in Chief Durojaye's heart. To her, he was a good man, but a distant one. Someone she respected, but never dared to dream about. She had grown up poor, learning early that dreams were dangerous things for people like her. She focused instead on gratitude, a roof over her head, honest work, and enough food to eat. She never imagined that love could come knocking from such an unexpected door. Night fell, and the mansion grew silent. Chief Durojaye sat by the great fireplace, staring into the flames. The words gathered in his chest, heavy and urgent. He promised himself tomorrow he would speak. Tomorrow he would open the door to a future he had long thought closed. But even as he made that vow, a small voice of fear whispered, "What if she rejects you?" What if you lose even her presence? Chief Durojaye closed his eyes. Tomorrow would be a day of courage. Morning came, bright and full of promise. Chief Durojaye dressed carefully, choosing a simple white agbada instead of his usual rich fabrics. He wanted to meet Amaka humbly, without the weight of his wealth. After breakfast, he sent for her. Amaka came quickly, wiping her hands on her apron, her face open and curious. Chief Durojaye's heart pounded as he gestured for her to sit, something he had never done before. Amaka hesitated, then sat lightly at the edge of the chair, her hands folded in her lap. Chief Durojaye cleared his throat, but the words wouldn't come. He looked at Amaka, really looked at her, and saw not just a maid, but a woman full of strength, kindness, and quiet beauty. Finally, in a voice low and trembling, he said, Amaka, you are more to this house than you know, more to me than you could ever imagine. Amaka blinked, unsure if she heard him correctly. The room felt heavy with unspoken things. Chief Dorojaye took a deep breath and continued, I have watched you with respect and with something more, something deeper. Silence wrapped around them like a thick cloth. Amaka's heart raced. She had never imagined such words coming from a man like him. She looked down at her hands, unsure of what to say. Chief Durojaye leaned forward slightly, his voice barely above a whisper. I would like to know you, not as a maid, but as Amaka. Would you allow me? The question hung in the air, trembling like a candle flame. Amaka lifted her eyes, and in them, Chief Durojaye saw surprise, fear, but also, maybe, a spark of hope. For a long moment, neither spoke. The mansion, the world outside, even time itself seemed to stand still. Then slowly, Amaka rose to her feet. Chief Durojaye feared she would walk away, and his heart twisted with regret. But instead, she dropped to her knees in respect and said softly, Sir, I am only a simple girl. Her voice was steady, but her eyes shone with unshed tears. Chief Durojaye reached out, lifting her gently by the hand. And I, he said, smiling through the tremor in his voice, am only a simple man looking for a heart like yours. The days that followed were filled with cautious steps. They did not rush. They spoke often. About little things at first, the flowers, the birds, the weather. Then about deeper things, their dreams, their fears, their scars. Chief Durojaye found joy in Amaka's laughter, and Amaka found safety in his kindness. The mansion that once echoed with loneliness now hummed with a quiet happiness. Staff members whispered and stared, but Chief Durojaye no longer cared. He had found something far richer than gold. He had found love. Still, doubts lingered. Chief Durojaye knew that loving Amaka in private was one thing, declaring it to the world was another. Society would not be kind. Friends would laugh behind his back. Some would say he had lost his mind. One evening, as they walked together through the garden, he stopped under the old mango tree. Amaka, he said, taking her hand, if you will trust me, I will face the world for you. Amaka smiled shyly and whispered, I have trusted you from the very beginning. The decision was made. Chief Durojaye called for a gathering. Family, friends, business partners. They all came, curious and expectant. In the grand hall of his mansion, under the watchful eyes of the city's elite, he stood tall, holding Amaka's hand. Murmurs filled the room, faces twisted in confusion, some in judgment. But Chief Durojaye's voice rang clear. Today, I want to introduce you all to the woman who has restored life to my heart, Amaka, my future wife. Gasps echoed through the hall, but Chief Durojaye did not flinch. Some turned away in disgust, others muttered behind their fans. But a few, the ones who had known true love and loss, nodded in quiet approval. Amaka stood quietly beside him, her hands trembling, but her spirit strong. She was no longer just the maid. She was a woman who had captured the heart of a man who had everything, yet had nothing until he found her. Chief Durojaye squeezed her hand gently, feeling pride, love, and freedom all at once. As the crowd began to leave, whispering their mixed opinions, Chief Durojaye led Amaka to the garden under the sunset sky. There, under the old mango tree, he placed a simple gold ring on her finger. No fanfare, no wealth on display, just two hearts finding home in each other. As night fell and stars blinked awake, Chief Dorojaye whispered, "You are my greatest treasure, Amaka." And in the soft embrace of the night, Amaka replied, "And you are my answered prayer,